The Friday Rugby Preview with Stuart Cameron.
Hello and welcome to the Friday Rugby Preview, and as usual I'm joined by Purdie, and we're going to start with a quick recap of what happened last weekend. Now in the Premiership, Hawick drew 24 each at Purdie. National 1 saw Melrose get the better of Gala at Netherdale 34-21, giving them a first win at Gala for 6 years. In National 2, Peebles drew at home with Newton Stuart 12-all in that one, while in the relegation battle Berwick posted a 43-13 win against Aberdeen Grammar, a score which puts Berwick 5 points clear of Aberdeen with a game in hand. In the East Leagues, the only local victory went to Hawick Harlequins in their derby against Hawick Lindeen. So Robin, you were at Millennium Park for Purdie against Hawick. Hawick were ahead 21-7 at one point, then Purdie came back to lead that one 24-21 before a late penalty by the Iceman, as he's known, Kirk Ford, who popped up and made it all square. So 2 points for the Greens, 3 points so for Purdie. They got the try bonus.
Yeah, they closed the gap by a point. I think in the end it probably goes down as a fair result. It helps Hawick more than it helps Purdie, even though Purdie got an extra point. Yeah, there was a bit of daylight. Hawick were very much in the ascendancy, maybe 5-10 minutes into the second half, but fair play to Purdie. They came right back at them and they scored 3 decent tries, 3 reasonably quick-fire tries. The key thing being that only one of them was converted. One of them hit the post from Charlie Brett, and as you say, Ford stepped up. But Hawick, I think, will be pretty pleased coming away there with a draw, because it means that their destiny is in their own hands. Andrew Mitchell looked like he took a really sore one in about 15 minutes, and he came off for a bit before he re-entered the fray, and he scored when he came back on, but he was absolutely running riot early in the piece. That injury maybe just knocked the wind out his sails a wee bit. He looked like he was going to have an absolute field day and at that point, so it'll be interesting to see. Hopefully he will make it this week, because like I say, he looked in really good form. So yeah, it leaves Hawick's destiny in their own hands, and that's probably about the best thing that they could have hoped for coming away from Millennium.
International 1, we mentioned Melrose, they're beating Gala, their first win at Netherdale for 6 years, and their 4th win on the bounce now if you include the Waverley Cup. So there's definite improvement there.
All credit to them. That's a really good win, and I think that, is that 4 wins now since their heavy reversal down at Ayr. I think they've responded well to that, and fair play to them. As I said last week, I don't think it can be deemed a success this season for a club like Melrose to finish second with 6 defeats, but they've done all they could have done since that defeat down at Ayr, and they're to be commended for that. That's a good win at Gala, fair play to them.
Peebles, a draw with Newton Stuart. They were 12-0 up, and that's let Falkirk nibble away at their lead in the table. They're now just 1 point behind Peebles, and I think it's a fortunate draw for them, because Newton Stuart towards the end were really threatening. It was great Peebles' defence at the end which kept them out, but 12-12, I think they'll be slightly disappointed with that.
I think so. It brings Falkirk back into it, as you say. I listened to Dale's commentary on the drive back from Purdie, and it did sound like they were holding on. It came across like they're really holding on, but that's a good test of their character, and they've come through that. Obviously, sounds silly to say, but a draw's an awful lot better than a defeat. But yeah, it's kind of a wee bit more nerve-wracking now, the remaining 4 games. They look imminently winnable on paper, but we all know it's played on grass or synthetic surfaces.
That's right. Well, of course, Berwick posted a good win at home, 43-13, but now they've got to back that up, haven't they?
Yeah, and what a chance to back it up at home. I think it is to Kirkcaldy this weekend. That's a winnable game, and impressive victory. The manner of the victory for Berwick, they obviously came out the blocks. They started really well, and they built on that as the game went on, and yeah, there's everything to suggest that they can get another win this weekend, and if they get another win this weekend and Aberdeen don't, then there's clear daylight there, and it looks good for Berwick from that point in terms of their survival.
And so to this week, and weather permitting, of course, we should have a full fixture card with the thaw already started, but for the latest news on matches off, don't forget to follow our dedicated X or Twitter account @BordersScores. But let's start in the Premiership with our featured commentary match tomorrow. Enbrackies against Kelso at Raeburn Place. Both teams targeting the final playoff spot. Here are the thoughts of Kelso back, Dwayne Patterson.
Aki's getting a good win last weekend against Hawks. Obviously gets the points on the board with us having a game in hand, but you would rather have the points on the board. So no, it's a massive game, and obviously looking to go up there to Raeburn Place, but we know it's not going to be an easy task, especially after the result at home. They'll be looking to get one back on us. Obviously it'll be over a month since we last played a game at Mar at home, but no, to be fair to the lads and the coaches, everyone's really bought in over the festive period and put a really good shift in, even with the setbacks, some games called off, even some Sharks games called off, but no, everyone's really bought in and put their hand up for selection for these games coming up.
Such an important match it is. Certainly the team that loses tomorrow will have a mountain to climb to make the playoffs, particularly if Heriots Blues and Musselburgh win their games tomorrow.
Yeah, I was just going to say exactly that, Stuart. It's got a wee bit of a feel of a playoff about it, this game, in terms of your chances of finishing fourth. If Kelso win, then they're in a great position. They've still got Currie to play, but it's at Poinder, and Poinder's a fortress. But then they've got Jed to play at the end of the season. But also, Accies have got Selkirk to play at home. Heriots have got Selkirk to play at home. So it's far from easy to pick who's going to finish fourth. But yeah, you do feel, I agree with you, whoever loses, if somebody loses that game between Accies and Kelso, it's going to be a long way back from there.
Just to remind you of the four teams in contention for that fourth spot. They're Heriots, who have played 15 on 44 points. Enbrackies played 15, 42 points. Kelso played 14, 40 points. And Musselburgh played 15 on 40 points. And all being well, we're on air on Rugby Radio tomorrow at 1:30 with full commentary of Enbrackies against Kelso with Dale Clancy and David Ferguson. Hugh Brown will be pitch side for us as well, on air till 5 o'clock. And you can tune in at rugbyradio.co.uk or bordersrugby.net, whichever floats your boat. Well, Musselburgh host Hawick, and all being well, Robin here is going to be providing us with second half reports after the Accies Kelso game has finished. Let's hear the thoughts now of Greens head coach Matty Douglas.
Attention turns to Musselburgh this week. Another tough trip to Stony Hill. Weather's played a big impact this week for training wise. Again, we're credit to a couple of riding centres for allowing us to train, so it's been good. And the weather is to pick up later on Friday, Saturday, so there might be a possibility we get rugby. But Musselburgh are a team who are formidable at home. They're chasing top four, and that's probably a big incentive for them. So look, we need to just fix our accuracies a little bit. Game management needs to be a lot better, and again, we just need to be clinical. We've got 3 league games left, and we all the way from home, taking them week at a time. And we'll look to go up to Stony Hill and get a result, but we're going to have to work really hard. Musselburgh pushed us pretty close at Mansfield back at the start of the season, so it's a game that we're looking forward to. Squad wise, again, we've got a full squad to pick from. Jay Linton will return to selection next week, but apart from that, again, a lot of boys training, and we're getting excited into the running at the end of the season. And look, at the end of the day, everybody's chasing us, so we just need to keep winning and keep performing.
Well, as Matty said, Musselburgh caused Hawick a few problems at Mansfield Park. They finally got over the line, but Musselburgh will certainly be focused on this one because they're in the playoff mix as well.
Yeah, I would say it's must win for Musselburgh in terms of their quest for fourth place. It looks on paper again like Hawick's hardest game of the remaining 3. If they can come through this with a win, then they're in a really strong position. It's going to be a great battle up front. Musselburgh, the likes of Badenhorst, Paul Bogey, the hugely experienced Michael Maltman, what a player he still is. But I was really impressed with Hawick's forwards at Currie on Saturday. Shout out to Dan Brooker, the Kiwi, who played number 6. I think that's his favoured position. Very impressed by him. Typical Kiwi. Dare I say, done a lot of the nuts and bolts, put himself about all over the place. Great performance by him. Then Sutherland, who I think is coming back from injury, he came on round about half time and was just immense defensively. We've talked about it all season. He was hammering boys left, right and centre. So yeah, it's going to be a ding dong with these 2 packs of forwards, and the weather could play a part as well.
Selkirk, they're away to Heriots Blues, and would certainly do Kelso a favour if they can reproduce that good away form that saw them beat Musselburgh and claim the Bill McLaren Shield. Their head coach, of course, is Sesh Henderson.
Look, the guys we're now just desperate to play again. Got in the park. It's been 4 or 5 weeks since we've had a game. Luckily this week, the intensity's been pretty good. We got inside, it dried in yesterday, and just with the better conditions, I don't think the ground will be good enough to train outdoors. So it's just good to get indoors and get a really good session in. So this week we've got Josh Welsh, who's been on holiday, and Ben Pickers obviously is doing really well in his recovery from his broken tibia he got against Musselburgh, so we're there to support him through that injury. Apart from that, we're pretty much at full strength. Really looking forward to get up to Golden Acre and put a performance in. We're going to be under pressure. They want to finish. They're still in line to finish to get a top 4 place. Selkirk, we've got Herets and Embarrass next 2 weeks, so we've got a big say in that. But we just want to look after ourselves, put a performance in, and make sure we get points off of both games. So it starts this week at Goldie. Really looking forward to it. Put real purpose into our intensity. Take that forward to Saturday, and we're confident if we perform that we have done over the last couple of games, that we can come away with points. And if you need to go with confidence when you go to like the Herets, because stand off them and they can really hurt you, because we've got some decent players in the squad. As I said already, they want to try and finish that top 4 place, so pressure's on them, but it's pressure's on us just to go out there and put that performance in that we want over the last 3 Premiership games, hopefully the next 3 weekends.
Herets Blues then in pole position for the Premiership playoffs, but Selkirk could certainly have a big say in this one. I think last season they won at Golden Acre.
Yeah, they did, and they had a wonderful win last time out away to Musselburgh. I was actually looking back at the sort of stats and the teams from that game, and Musselburgh had a strong team out that day, and that was a brilliant win for Selkirk. They'll be looking to back that up against Herets. Selkirk don't have really anything to play for as far as the league campaign is concerned. They're safe, but they're not going to finish in the top 4. Herets have got it all to play for, so might that have an impact? Possibly. Herets are in the driving seat, I think, for 4th. I can see them taking probably 10 points from their last 2 games.
All at home, of course.
All at home, sorry, I beg your pardon. Their last 3 games, they probably might get 10 points, so it's going to be tricky for the others to reel them in if that's the case. But my words, Kelso will be hoping Selkirk can do them a favour this weekend.
Of course, in the other game, it's Jed Forest against Glasgow Hawks, 10th against 9th. Let's hear from David Grieve.
So on Saturday, we are scheduled to play Glasgow Hawks. Our squad's looking not too bad at the minute. There's a couple of front row worries, but I think that's about it. This will be our first game of the year, and again, it's against the team that's one place above us. So, if we're looking to pick a win up this season, on paper, this is the one to go for. But again, it's going to be a difficult game. Hawks are a big physical team, so we've got to at least match that and be pretty clinical, and we should hopefully get a result.
Well, of course, encouraging to hear that he's got quite a few to choose from, but he did mention a couple of problems in the front row, and you don't want that against Glasgow Hawks.
No, they've kind of been plagued by that all season, Jed. But I agree with David. This, if they're going to win a game, and I really, really hope they do this season, I can see it being on Saturday. Hawks have flattered to deceive a bit this season, and they appear to be a lot better at home than they are away. And yeah, I think if Jed are going to chalk one up, then this could be the weekend.
International one then, and Gala and Melrose both on the road. Melrose are on a revenge mission at Glasgow Accies after they leaked 62 points at the Green Yards. Head coach of the Black and Yellows is Ian Chisholm.
We've got a bit of a score to settle this weekend against Glasgow Accies. They came down and embarrassed us in the last 20 minutes of the game down at the Green Yards, and we as a group, obviously, we don't want that to ever happen again. That Glasgow Accies game at home was probably a big turning point for us. It exposed a lot of frailties in our defensive skill set, but also the defensive system, and just highlighted what we had to do better and where our focus should be. We know they like to keep ball in hand where they can. At the Green Yards, we kicked off deep every single time, hoping that they would kick the ball off the pitch, and they ended up holding the ball for 10 to 15 phases in their own 22. And look, their outside backs are dangerous. They work really hard to create numbers. They play with a lot of layers, and I'm a big fan. I really like how they play the game and their approach to it. And for me as a coach, I think playing identity and being unique, having your own stamp on it, it's pretty important. And I think Glasgow Accies do that. as always, look, there's real competition for places now, and funnily enough, boys didn't get injured when we're winning. So I'm really enjoying myself at the moment, and I'm really hoping that my boys are really enjoying themselves as well, and that we can get a result in Glasgow and just make sure that we show that, you know, we mean business in terms of where we are in the league. And I know the league's gone for us, but we have our own goals in house, and as far as we're concerned, we're on the right path. We just need to make sure that we stick together, and we make sure that we're building a club and not just a team.
Melrose do appear to have, as I said before, they appear to be on a better track after their game. The rest of the season is a real opportunity for them to lay down a marker to the rest of the teams in this league. Whoever comes up, that might be Peebles, and whoever comes down, that will be Jed, to say, right, we are the boys for next season, and you're all going to have to beat us because we came second in this league. We did it comfortably, and you know, nobody else is going to have it their way. And just lay down that marker. Got to see if they can win the remaining games for the rest of the season. In their current form, there's no reason why they can't. But yeah, revenge mission this weekend. It won't be easy up there, but I think Melrose have got the tools to do the job.
Gala heading to the frozen north to Inverness to take on Highland. Director of Rugby at Gala is Ewan Swinton.
For that game, we'll have hopefully Dan Nicholson back, John Turnbull is back in the equation, and Tim McCavanagh will return. So these three in themselves give us some really good, hard, direct runners who will take the game to Highland. And again, we're going to be strong in the forwards, so should expect at least parity there, and perhaps with a bit more directness in the backs and some more accuracy in our kicking. We should be able to come onto a game where we perhaps start strongly and score well. I'm a great believer, as I've said before, in the poetry of sport. And the way that our last game against Highland finished off was heartbreaking for us and great for them. But perhaps this is the time when we turn the tables. It is a long drive up to Highland. Nobody relishes it, and it's a very tough place to play. They're a good team despite some of their recent results, and they're going to pose a real challenge to us. But I think when you consider the difficulty of getting to Highland, you've got to remember that they're doing that every second week. So credit to them. They don't complain about it. They get on with it. So that's exactly what we'll do on Saturday. We will take our strengths with us. We'll go there with confidence that comes from the fact that you know you're a good team, but there is still that top 2 inches which needs to translate into regular winning rugby. We're capable of it. The boys have all the talent required. We just need to start delivering on a much more consistent basis and get back to where we were mid-season, producing the results that we certainly have in our locker.
Ewan Swinton, as positive as ever, and we wouldn't have it any other way, that's for sure. But it's a long trek up there to Inverness. As he said, Highland have to do it every other week. Yeah. Then you get into the Orkneys and all the rest of it. But even still, it's a long journey, keeping the mind focused for that length of time. You've been on a few long journeys in your past, and it's a case of enjoying the scenery, but you've got to get off the bus.
Aye, that's it. That's the main thing, and it's similar to what Ian said before about, you know, injuries and that kind of thing. These long trips are a lot more. There's a lot more of a positive vibe about them if you're on a bit of a winning streak. Gala are not at the moment, so yeah, they need to get themselves up for it. You know, it's not just up the road, it's a long trek, but they've got the personnel. Gala, absolutely, they're just in a wee bit of a rut at the moment. I think possibly this season, let's not forget, they had Dodds pulling the strings at 10 last season. That's really good, and we've seen, you know, how good a player he is anyway. We've seen what he did for the South. So, you know, they've missed him among others, so bit of a transitional phase, but yeah, they're going to have to get themselves up for what is a tough game after a long journey on Saturday morning.
Well, International 2 and table toppers Peebles also head north to face bottom of the table Aberdeen Grammar. Here's their head coach, Graham Patterson.
Really, we're chucking the league positions out the window and just saying we're going to prepare against a team that's going to be coming at us and looking to win. So yeah, we'll look back at the game against the Giants, and what we had successes on was when we spread that ball wide. We stretched our defence, and then we were able to regenerate the ball quickly and exploit those defensive gaps, and that's what we'll be looking to do against them as well. Raise the tempo of the game, be accurate in what we do, and take the right decisions. Confidence is still there from the guys. They absolutely know what we have to do. It's pretty clear. We go out there, we win 4 games with a bonus point, and we've definitely been promoted, and that's the goal. Selection wise, we'll have pretty much everybody to choose from. the guys have performed last week. Yeah, we've got a draw instead of a win, but it was still a very good performance in certain aspects of that. So those guys will be rewarded and play again on Saturday.
Well, it may be first versus last, but Aberdeen at home to Ruberslaw is a match for any side, as Newton Stuart found out, of course, a couple of weeks ago, to their cost.
Oh yeah, it's a different ball game playing Aberdeen up there to on your own patch. But it's in Peebles' hands, absolutely. 20 points from the last 4 games, and they are champions. 3 of them are away from home, so there's a bit more of a banana skin element about them. But yeah, if you want to get promoted and win the league, you need to go to the team that's at the bottom, and you need to do the job. And the last 4 games are against 4 teams that are currently in the bottom 5. So that in a way is a good thing, of course, but in another way it adds to the pressure to an extent a wee bit as well. But yeah, I'm fully backing Peebles to go up there and come away with 5 points on Saturday.
And as you say, they are teams at the bottom, but teams at the bottom who really will be focused because they need the points themselves.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Aberdeen, if Aberdeen don't win this weekend and Berwick do at home to Kirkcaldy, then Aberdeen are cut adrift, and it looks a long way back from that. So yeah, they'll be gunning for Peebles, but I think Peebles will have enough.
Well, Berwick coming off the back of that excellent 43-13 win over Aberdeen Grammar last weekend, and they'll be wanting more of the same as they face Kirkcaldy at Scremiston tomorrow. Let's bring in forwards coach Paul Pringle.
Now Kirkcaldy are 9 points clear of us, but we did have the game up there early in the season where we threw away what was a sizable lead at half time, and that one really sticks in the throat. So it's definitely a case of what should have been 5 points. So we really want to put that right this weekend. We're missing 3 boys are away on holiday, but we at the same time we'll be welcoming back Darren Goodfellow from injury. Darren's a huge cornerstone of our scrum and a really abrasive ball carrier for us, so that's great to have him back. Now that we're into the last 5 games of the season, we don't have the opportunity to loan back players from Kelso where required. But look, we've still got a strong squad. There's no excuses there. We're certainly targeting it as a fixture we should win, so providing the pitch survives the frost over the next couple of nights, we would hope that the game would be on. We're targeting this. We wanted 10 points from the 2 games, so we want the game to be on, and then ultimately we've got some tough games on the road to Peebles and Falkirk, but it's one game at a time and just trying to get the points in the bag now, and hopefully that'll see us right at the end of the season.
Well, he mentioned it, Kirkcaldy, the match that they should have come away with 5 points and ended up not doing so. That will focus them.
Yeah, I think so, and I was just thinking back to that when he mentioned it there, they would have just about been, if they'd come away with the 5, they'd have just about been home and dry in terms of their quest for safety. So yeah, they'll be looking to settle a score against Kirkcaldy this weekend. He mentioned there about the boys on holiday. I'm sure Colin Young will be delighted with that. Was it not Colin that was less than impressed with skiers?
He doesn't like skiers during the season.
So I'm sure he's pleased about that. But yeah, as I said before, Berwick on the back of last week's win, that should give them a big enough fill-up and the confidence that will be required to beat Kirkcaldy. And if they do and Aberdeen don't win against Peebles, then there's good daylight there for the men from Berwick.
And of course in 7 days time Peebles play Berwick, which could be quite interesting as well.
Oh yeah, well both teams will be looking for points from that game one way or another.
Absolutely, it's going to be interesting next week. That'll be one of the matches of course that we do cover. Now in the East Leagues, Division 1, Langham are at home to Broughton. Their head coach is Craig Hislop.
Last Saturday we travelled up to Edinburgh to play Portobello. We much changed the squad from the rest of the season due to various reasons, through work and illness. We fielded a young team, 2 18-year-olds and 3 19-year-olds in the squad, which is a good positive side to it, that we've got these guys coming in, and we had some guys back that hadn't featured in the first 15. So by half time we were still in the contest but fell away to finish up 64-16. This weekend we welcome Broughton down to Milton, weather permitting. The game was postponed at Broughton's request earlier in the year due to it being on the World Cup final. So we played them in September, way back. 43-33 was the end result. So we're expecting another high scoring game down at Milton as we look to solidify our position within the league.
Craig Hislop. Of course, that scoreline wasn't nice to look at, but looking on the positive side, youngsters, teenagers getting valuable experience of league rugby for the first time. It's got to be good for them.
Oh, definitely. It's a tough school. you know, irrespective of division that you're in, when you come up as a 17 or 18 or even a 19-year-old and you're playing against some of these wily old heads, it really is it's a baptism of fire. But you need that, and it's the way to blood them. Just chuck them in. And yeah, Langham, Craig mentioned about solidifying their position. They've definitely done that this season. You know, they came up from last season, and yeah, they'll go above Broughton if they can beat them at Milton this weekend, albeit Broughton have a couple of games in hand. But yeah, finishing third, finishing fourth, if they go on to do that, I think it's a pretty good return.
Yep, absolutely. Well, in East League 2, Dalkeith will be playing Duns. They played each other last week, with Dalkeith getting a big win there. Also in East 2, Hoyt Lindeen complete their league season with a home match against Pennycook. We can hear from Lindeen's Gary Alexander.
Hard to believe that this Saturday's game against Pennycook is our last league game of the season, weather permitting. They're sitting second in the table, but we gave them a real good game up at Pennycook earlier in the season. We lost 28-24, picked up try bonus and a losing bonus that day, and they'd actually been in the lead at half time. Last Saturday against the Quins, it was disappointing that we lost. It was 28-10. We leaked a couple of early tries, 14-0 down after 12 minutes, so it's always a tough coming back for that, which we did, and we got back to 14-10 at the break. We had a good period of territory possession start of the second half, but we couldn't turn it into points, and then the Quins got a couple of scores in the second half, so we lost out in the end, 28-10. We also picked up some more injuries. We've got quite a few at the moment. Sean Giesford, fullback, went off injured. Scott Glendinning picked up a knock, so I think we'll be missing one or two this week. But the aim is certain to finish the season, certainly the league campaign, on a high. All being well, we can just get that win to finish the season.
3 wins for Lindeen this season, currently in second bottom, but Duns adrift at the bottom and relegated to East 3 next season. But here's the crazy thing for me. Lindeen will finish their season tomorrow. Other teams have to wait till April the 13th. 3 months to go to complete their games. In the case of Dalkeith, they've still got 4 games to play. Now remember, this is an 8-team league. How can that possibly have happened?
I have literally no idea. Can't for the life of me work out how that can be. Yes, there's been weather, but weather's affected most. You know, when the weather's been bad, most of the games have been off. So, yeah, you'll always get somebody a game or two behind. But I can't understand how some teams are still going to have to play in April. As you say, it's an 8-team league, for goodness sake. So, who knows is the answer to that question. But here's hoping that the Lindeen, you know, they're going to battle away. The sounds of things, they're beset by injuries, but yeah, let's hope they can finish their league campaign with a win against Pennycook.
The other match, of course, is in East League 3, and that's Galloway M away to Lismore. No game for Earlston this week. And that's it for today. Rugby Radio tomorrow, weather permitting, comes direct from Raeburn Place in Edinburgh, where we'll have full commentary with Dale Clancy and David Ferguson of Edinburgh Accies against Kelso. That's in the Premiership, as both teams try to get into the playoffs. Plus, all being well, second half commentary from Musselburgh against Hoyk at Stony Hill, which kicks off at 3 o'clock. Hope you can join us at 1:30 for 3.5 hours of live rugby. But for now, from Robin and me, a very good night.